2024 working meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Education will come to order. Let us stand for the pledge led by Gloria.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are you ready? Our vision statement is the vision of Lincoln County Schools is to empower every student with the knowledge and skills necessary to become college, career, and citizenship ready by providing high quality education and enriching opportunities in every classroom every day. Our mission statement is every student, every classroom, every day, college, career, and citizenship ready.
The quote of the evening is by Nelson Mandela. It goes like this: "The greatest glory of living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Is there a motion to set the agenda? Make a motion. Christine, Jen. Vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, we'll move to our discussion items. Item 3A, Lions Club donation to schools, married friend.
So my name is Mary Friend, and I'm here on behalf of the Stanford Lions Club, and I am the outgoing president and also the chairperson for our Lions Club radio auction. And our motto is "We serve, and where there's a need, there's a lion." And every year we have a radio auction, and we pick an area that we feel has the greatest need. We've helped with the police department, we've helped the fire department, and this year our radio auction chose to help the family resource centers with their backpack programs. And so what our radio auction does, for those that don't know, is we collect items throughout the year, whether it be a gift card, an item, a gift certificate from businesses in Lincoln, Garrett, Boyle. We even go as far as Gatlinburg and Cincinnati. We usually get anywhere from 175 to 200 items. And on a Saturday in June, we go on the radio from 12 to 8 p.m. and every half hour donate anywhere or auction anywhere from 10 to 12 items. And they're just 30-minute blocks. At the end of that 30 minutes, the winner with the highest bid gets the item. And this year, our radio auction we made a little over $8,000. And we picked 3 areas to donate to. A small portion will go to just general needs that the public comes to us for throughout the year. A small portion goes to the Parks and Recs department. We have a scholarship set up with them for the youth with football, baseball, and then we also have a school scholarship for seniors that they can apply for. And so a small portion goes to that. And we chose, like I said, a large portion to go to the Family Resource Center. And we would like it to specifically go to the backpack program, but they did also say that for each of the 7 schools, they'll get an equal amount. And we would like for that coordinator, if they know that their school has a bigger need than the backpack program, by all means, they have that they're available to use these funds for that. But we would like to use them for the backpack program if possible. So I have a check here for $4,900,
Wow.
which ends up being $700 for each of the 7 schools. So
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
and if I could get someone
We need to get a picture.
That's Brad. He's a picture man.
You might be coming to our new media screen.
Lee, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, how did I get
We appreciate that.
Got it.
Thank
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
all so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mary.
All right.
Okay, we'll continue with item 3B, architects for upgrades, renovation, and enhancements. Mr. Bruce Smith.
Okay, so we can get started with the process of upgrading, renovating and enhancing our facilities across the district, using the $7 million that was allocated in this past budget during the 2024 General Assembly in House Bill 1. We have already received our first $3.5 million, and we'll get the next 3.5.
Two.
Sorry.
I thought you said two. I thought it was three.
We'll get the first 3.5 million.
Mhm.
We received it already this past month, and then we'll get the next 3.5 next year. And so I want to publicly acknowledge Speaker Meade and Senator Storm. They worked very hard, along with the other legislators and senators, in putting us into this budget. And these funds will be used during the 25 and the 26 school year. So I'm asking the board to consider hiring Clotfelter and Samakar as the architect to guide us through the process of the upgrades, renovations, or any enhancements we do to our facilities. Are there any questions?
Are they gonna kind of go through and tell us what we need to fix? Are we gonna have a principal wish list? The architects?
We have walked through the high school, and we'll be doing it as well. The architects didn't want to do too much more until we actually hired them. So that's the reason I'm bringing this to you, so we can get that process started.
But that's what we're gonna
Yes.
do, walk through all this, that they're gonna grade.
Yes, and we've received some reviews that's been done. We have some issues that we will have to address at the high school from the fire chief and stuff.
So those would be our first priority.
Yes, we'll have to do some prioritizing, because you know as well as I do, 3.5 million sounds a lot of money, but it will take long to spend it. Because when you look at that facility plan, it was done basically about 3 years ago. It's almost $50 million there. That was figures back then. So probably you're talking 100+ million today. So it won't take long to spend that.
And we also hope to work on our minor sports. That we need that badly. And I've talked already with Brad Smith about that. And I want to thank Bruce Smith for his hard work talking to David Meade. I think he had David in his office about once a week talking to him about this. Okay, we'll continue with Bruce down with 3C, Strategic Planning Process Assistance.
As I presented my capstone to you a few months ago, one of the things that I've asked the board in the district to go through is the strategic planning process. So I have reached out to one of our co-ops, the KEDC, and we have with us tonight Dr. Jim Evans, and he has a presentation, and like you listen to that and asking him that he will guide us through this process. Dr. Evans, turn it over to you.
Thank you all, and I will come up here if that's okay. That way I can kind of talk to the group, but appreciate being here, and I think I've met most of you back here. If I haven't, I hope to get to meet you. But again, my name is Jim Evans. I'm with KEDC, Kentucky Educational Development Corporation. So I just want to thank you, board members, and Bruce for even considering utilizing KEDC for this service. First thing I'm going to say, it's free. There's no cost to your district in any way. So totally 100% cost free. But I'm honored to be a part of this if you all decide to move forward with the process. So just a little bit about me. I'm from Lee County, Beattyville, Kentucky. Started in that district as a teacher's aide and a bus driver and ended up being superintendent in that district. So started out as a teacher's aide in a special ed classroom, loved it, ended up teaching special ed the next 7, 8 years. But my degrees were in history and anthropology. I had a double major, but at the time that I graduated, there were no social studies jobs. But I think the Lord blessed me by putting me as a teacher's aide in that special ed classroom because I didn't want to leave when I got there. So I went back and did a 5th year and got a special ed 5th year certification, and then worked on leadership while I was doing that. Ended up being assistant principal at the high school, following that for 2 years, and then 7 years as high school principal, 1 year as transportation, federal programs, and then the next 11 as superintendent of the district. And I left in 2019 on my own, had a contract through 2022, but decided it was time to do something different. So not at any fault to this man sitting right here, and because I'm going to tell you all something. If I was back in the seat as a superintendent, he would be by my side, because I worked with he and his dad for 11, right at 12 years on a daily or weekly. And sorry, Grant, I don't mean to embarrass you, but Grant is like family. And Grant and I, his dad kind of threw him at me. His dad, Bob, was our board attorney when I got the job in Lee County. And of course, Bob's a straight shooter. He would tell me like it is. He's like, Jimmy, but then Grant and I became introduced, and we became close friends. So, and again, I consider him as family. I can pick up the phone and call Grant anytime. You all have a great one. So I just have to say that without moving forward. But anyway, again, I'm blessed to be here and honored, and I will move as quickly as possible because this takes me back. I was looking through your agenda. I see tax rates on here, things like that. So y'all know what to talk about. But strategic planning is an important process for your district, and even if you are considering it. So let's just, let me tell you what's in your package. You got my resume in there real quick, and you got some information about KEDC. We provide lots of services for your district as a member. So please, if you need something, reach out, please. I can be your point of contact or someone else there. If you have any questions, whatever it may be, it's in the service booklet. But anyway, following superintendent, I currently serve as deputy director at KEDC, but also work with grants, projects, operations, or anything that I'm asked to do. So I'm open to anything. So let's talk about strategic planning, and I want this to be very informal. And if you all have questions as we move through the slides, please ask, and let's talk about it. Because this is a big step, but it is critical to the success of your district moving forward. And you all do have some awesome things happening in your district. And Bruce, by you working with those legislators, getting $7 million for things happening to you. And Lions Club donation, $4,000, all those things matter to kids. So all those things impact the children that you serve each and every day. And I'm about kids, and I'm about school improvement, district improvement, and anything that I can do to help assist or facilitate with that, I'm all about it. So, and again, hats off to you. So let's talk about the overview of strategic planning process. And I see Keith, my buddy over there, he's already on it. So why do we do strategic planning? It does provide a formalized process of how to formalize your district beliefs, vision, mission, parameters, objectives, strategies, and action planning. And we'll talk about these briefly as we work through the slides. And I commend you all for opening your meeting with, number one, the pledge, but number two, your vision statement and your mission statement, because I've done this in a lot of districts. And lots of times I'll go in and I will say, what's your vision or mission? And many times most people don't know that. That's not a reflection of anybody in the district, but sometimes it's not publicized, it's not communicated well, and people just don't know, and it's at nobody's fault. But I commend you as a board superintendent that you all do share that out at each of your board meetings. So strategic planning also engages the community and stakeholders, both internal, which your school staff here, and external, your community members, your community support partners. Again, looking at your agenda, I see MOA with Campbellsville here. That's awesome that you are doing things like that. But it also helps create efficiency and saves you money, because you're going to take a deep dive and look at your processes in your district in every department. So we can move on to the next slide. And again, if you've got a question, please just say, hey, Jim, stop, and what's it about? What is strategic planning? Well, it's the means by which the community or organization continuously recreates. So you all are going to be rethinking about things that you currently do. And it's a concentration of all your efforts. I know you all were talking about budgets and things like that. Again, looking at your finance, looking at each department to see, are you utilizing your resources as you should to get the biggest bang for your buck in your school district? So planning vocabulary, you're on it, Keith. We'll talk about values, beliefs, vision, mission, parameters, internal analysis, external analysis, objectives, strategies, action planning, implementation, communication, monitoring, and accountability. So all of these are part of strategic planning that, again, if you all choose to utilize me to facilitate, we will work through. Roles and responsibilities during strategic planning. I also do some training for KSBA and then KASA on the side as well. But as board members, it's your role or strategic focus to govern the system. You all govern the system. Governance requires a broad systemic view of the district. You all see the big picture. Superintendent sees the big picture. But the role of the superintendent and the staff, they administer. Board governs, superintendent administers, staff, they administer what goes on and concentrate the steps necessary to accomplish the strategic plan and the goals in it. So during the first session, of course, there's some steps in between. Following this presentation, again, if you choose to move forward, I would meet with Bruce, and then we would talk about stakeholder groups, who needs to be involved, things like that. But initially, our first meeting, we would do an overview like I'm doing now with the stakeholder group. Could be 25 to 35 people. I don't recommend getting larger than that. We would talk about meeting norms and setting what are the norms for the meeting. So norms are the standards you set for working together, and they provide a guideline for behavior. I recommend this because strategic planning, there will be some tough conversations that will take place and will happen. So, you know, you have to have norms set up, and you have to revisit your norms every meeting. And sometimes these are common sense behaviors. You think, well, everybody knows that, but sometimes during meetings, common sense sometimes may get lost. So you have to revisit your norms to make sure, number one, everybody's heard, you know, and everybody's voice matters and everybody is respected. So, and they need to be agreed upon. So we'll talk more about that. And I'm trying to go fast for you all. So, but meeting norms examples, some of these will respect everyone's time by starting and ending on time, only one conversation at a time. That basically means being respectful of someone who's speaking. Be present with the people you're meeting with, you know, cell phones on silent, just those are the basics. But we would work together to come up with the meeting norms as a stakeholder group. Next session, development of belief statements and value words, and some of these may be in one session or two sessions. It's according to how closely you want to do those. Some districts choose to meet every week or every other week or every 2 weeks or whatever that may look like. We will work on that schedule and things like that. But a session will absolutely be focused on development of belief statements and value words in your district. So those are basically formal expressions of the organization's fundamental values, your code, and overriding convictions. So, you know, beliefs will provide the value system upon which the plan will be developed and evaluated. So what are your beliefs? What do your stakeholders believe? What members of your staff, what are those beliefs? What does your community think about beliefs? They'll become published and part of the actual plan. So I will say early on here, when you do strategic planning, you don't want to do a plan and just shelve it. It needs to be monitored, and as I said earlier. So anybody have any questions yet? I know I'm moving pretty quick. So each step of the process here, for example, I just talked about beliefs. I will provide your stakeholder group with examples as we move through the process. So I think you can go on to the next slide there, Keith. Right there, beliefs examples. So these are actual beliefs from the school districts that I've worked with. But we believe in a positive attitude, high expectations, accountability. We believe in student achievement as a shared responsibility between home, school, and the community. These are actual belief statements that have been developed by other school districts that I've worked with. So value words, same way. These could be a combination, 5 to 7 words, again, about your beliefs and your values, respect, honesty, teamwork. These are words that you want your students to know, you want your staff to know, you want your community to know. So we'll also look at development of a vision statement. So I know it's been a little while since you all worked on strategic planning, and you do have a vision statement, not saying that that one is not awesome. What it says, it is awesome. But what I found as a superintendent that if you don't look internally, lots of times, if you're not careful, your demographics, your student population, your community will change. And if your school district doesn't change with it, you're really impacting the students that you're serving. And so it is good to always take time to look at your vision statement to see, does it still work? Is it still our vision for our population we're serving now? Even when kids graduate, which is ultimately what you want. But graduation is not the end. When they leave here, you want them to have success post-secondary. That's what you want to see. And then, of course, you want to see them go to work and contribute to society and things like that. But revisiting that vision statement again, stakeholder group may look at your vision statement and say, hey, this still works for us. If so, then that's fine. Mission statement the same way. Every student, every classroom, every day, college and career and citizenship ready. So you all are preparing students for that next step. So again, I provide vision examples to the stakeholder group, and they would take a look at those just as examples. I would not recommend using those, but it does provide a little bit of a starting point, talking points as you look at those, your vision, mission, and things like that. Same as development and mission statement. Your mission, clear and concise expression of the district's identity, purpose, and means, always written in one statement. Bold declaration, keystone on which the plan exists. And again, the district needs to live it, and your schools need to know what your vision, and mission, what those are. So, all right. And again, mission examples. There's some examples I've provided. And the stakeholder group will get this same presentation and packets, and we will do an overview like this at the first meeting with everybody. So I'm going to share a mission statement with you, an example there. The last bullet, the mission of the school district, and honestly, this was Lee County's, is to foster trust, growth, and accountability in partnership with students, staff, parents, and the community. We modified our mission statement and changed it based upon strategic planning due to when we did an internal and external analysis, we found these things to stand out. There was a lack of trust in the district. That happens. So we felt like mission statement needed to reflect it, and we need to work on that. So we absolutely put it in there. It's different now. There have been a couple different superintendents in Lee County since I left, but it's different. They changed and they've updated, and they should have. But again, foster trust, growth, and accountability with partnership with students, staff, parents, and the community. That came from strategic planning. That was with input from stakeholders, from parents, families, community, employees, students, the whole 9 yards. So just want to share that. That's how that was developed, and it was pertinent to what was going on currently in the school district. So when we wanted to address those things. More mission examples. We can move on to parameters. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Development of parameters. Strategic parameters are boundaries in which the organization places upon itself for good reason. So things we'll never do or things we'll always do. For example, we go to the next slide. We will do nothing that is not based on the best interest of students. Now, this will actually become part of your plan, and again, will be developed with the stakeholder group. And when I talk about the stakeholder group, that doesn't mean that this will not be shared out widely with your staff and the community. As we move through the process, we will collect all this data and information via Google, and then I will organize each meeting prior to coming. I'll set up the agenda. I'll email the stakeholder group. I'll have the prior meeting, what we did. I'll do a plus delta, which is basically an evaluation at the end of each meeting. I'll post that for the next meeting. So everybody gets a transparent process. So, and then Bruce can share that out widely with the school district so everybody can kind of see what's going on, because you don't want people to feel like they don't have a voice. You want to be open and transparent about it. So Anyway, we will not accept failure. We will never compromise quality. So those are just some examples of parameters. So let's talk a little bit about internal analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So as I talk to some of you here in the audience, I know that some staff members here that work in specific departments, when we do internal analysis, again, we're going to look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Now, during this process, it's kind of an old-fashioned way to do it. We're going to collect it in Google, but when we do this, we're going to use chart paper, markers, and we're going to use Avery dots. Y'all remember the Avery dots where you get 3 to 5 and you vote on your highest priorities? That's the way this process works for vision, mission, norms, parameters, the whole 9 yards. Stakeholder group gets to vote. We prioritize, and then those become your actual draft of your plan. But internal analysis is very important because you really take a deep dive into the history of each department, maybe going back 3 to 5 years. I know we were in 20 where we were, so you may want to look back a little further. Each department will actually do a share out, 10 to 15 minute share out. For example, finance will do a share out to the stakeholder group, current budget, what the budget has been, what it could be. And again, when you're thinking about strategic planning, you want to think about 3 to 5 years, even a little bit further down the road if you can. But things change so quickly now. It's like we were talking about, Keith, with technology, it's ever changing. Same thing in a school district, things change. But when you do strategic planning, you really want to be thinking with the mindset of where do we want to be in the future? What does it look like? What do we want for our kids? What do we want our district to look like? What do we want for our community? So again, this is a partnership with your community. But during internal analysis, and I've got the definitions down there. You can go to the next slide, but I'm not going to read those. Those are huge. But again, it's just what it says. We're going to look at strengths in your data. These are things that are based upon your current data and past data. You do need to look and see where you were, where you are now, and then think about where you want to go. Weaknesses, again, and I don't like to use the word weaknesses. We all have them, but I like to use opportunities. So what things coming from shared data are opportunities for Lincoln County schools to grow and improve? So, of course, there will be some things that stand out and you're like, well, we need to get better there. There will always be things like that. So, and again, I will say, this is not, strategic planning is not a negative. It's not a time for, number one, a gripe session to throw rocks at the board or superintendent or members of the staff or parents or community. It's really a time to take a look at how can we improve? How can we get better? And it takes everybody. It takes everybody to do that. So, but internal analysis is a critical part to the process. Again, you will hear from district administrators, finance, transportation, maintenance, DPP. Those are just some examples, and I will get with those folks about how to prepare to do the share outs. And then as we do that, again, we'll still take notes, and then we'll chart as we go. We'll chart the strengths, we'll chart weaknesses, opportunities, and then threats. Let me talk a little bit about threats. Threats are those things that, and you can flip on through and go to the next slide there. Go back one, I'm sorry. So just as I was talking there, when we do the internal analysis, we'll need to look at assessment, curriculum, special education, your PD plans, finance. It looks like a lot, but again, if you don't take a hard look at your current data, where you've been and where you want to go, it's hard to really move forward in strategic planning. For example, I know your DPP will need to we'll do a share out about attendance rate, where it's been, dropout rate, what your enrollment looks like. What does enrollment impact? It impacts finance. So if enrollment's going in the wrong direction and you don't see it and you don't address it and try to stay ahead of it, you're going to run your finance over the cliff. So that can happen. That was what was happening to me in Lee County. Our enrollment was going over the cliff, and guess what? I had to make adjustments. I had to close the school, had to consolidate. I cut central office staff like crazy to keep teachers in the building, to keep art, music, and PE, because those were important. But if you don't get ahead of some of those things, unless you've got a huge contingency that you can sit on for a number of years, and most districts don't, that will catch up to you, and next thing you know, you're like a year and a half, KDE will be looking and say, you got a 2%. We're going to come in and be monitoring everything you do, and you don't want that. You all manage your district, and again, you're doing super well. That's just examples. I will provide examples throughout this process of things that I've dealt with and other folks have dealt with. But again, back to the threats, we can move on to that slide. Strengths, again, there's child-focused staff, things like that, those will come out. But threats is one thing that you need to really think about as far as what are those things that you see coming that you may or may not be able to prevent. So, for example, right now you may have a lot of jobs or whatever it may be in this community, but potentially if you foresee a factory closing or jobs leaving, same for if you foresee things coming to your community that will increase opportunities for people to move here to work. So that's another thing to plan for, not only thinking about loss of enrollment, but what if you do have a manufacturing plant drop here, which would be wonderful. Chances are, if it provided a lot of jobs, you all would have to prepare for more students enrolling in your district. So those are things, again, with strategic planning. But threats are those things that you may see coming, but you do the best you can to try to offset them and keep them from happening. They may still happen. But again, strategic planning, you try to find a way to, let's put some things in place that may stop this or even not make it as bad. So, all right. So, any questions on SWOT for internal? So also external analysis, we'll do that, and that will also be in-house. And again, we'll be looking at, you can move on to the next one. It'll be the same SWOT, but you're going to look at, and you need to be looking at this anyway, and I know you are, educational trends at the local level, state, and national policy. So I know just from hearing just a few minutes that you're in contact with your legislators, and that's fantastic. You got to keep those people and talk to those people all the time. But an external analysis, those are things outside the school district that may impact you. Again, lots of times you can't control what happens at the federal level, but it's going to trickle down to you. It will cascade to your district eventually. Always you think about Title I funds, you think about Title II, you think about safe schools, all those things that you get dollars from the federal government, those impact what you can do in classrooms here and in your district. So it's always good in thinking about external analysis. What are those things that are happening at the local level? I saw today, KSBA, they're working on policies for school districts right now. Lots of those policies that you get are legal. You have to do them. You don't have a choice. So you got to keep your finger on those things. So other things to think about in external analysis, again, population, community, child health and welfare, child care, your local political realm, whatever that may look like. This is another true story I'll briefly tell you. We were working to try to get an SRO in our community, and Grant was involved in this at our school district because we just didn't have a budget to do it. So we ended up trying to partner with local community and sheriff's office and city police, and it was right at election time. So we even had a contract and an agreement. Well, guess what? County judge got beat. We had a new sheriff and all that went away. So we weren't able to change that. But again, that was something that we kind of anticipated happening, but didn't think it would, but it did. So again, knowing your local officials, that's an external piece. They are not directly inside your district, but they play a key part. So technology analysis, talk about broadband and internet, and again, changing it again, of course, population trends in your community, tracking those babies when they're born, and looking at kindergarten, Head Start enrollment to try to get a handle on what your population is going to be moving forward. And I know you'll have to do that each year when you do site-based council allocations and things like that. So, but anyway, external are those partners that are critical to your district that may not work here, but are partners to you. So following all of that, again, we'll chart all this out. We will track it in Google. We will vote with the Avery dots, and we will actually create your highest priorities, and then we'll start working on objectives. So, and again, Statement of objective is the organization's commitment to achieve specific, significant, measurable end results. So, and I've given you some examples there. 3 to 4 could be per department. And of course, with objectives, you have strategies that you're going to have. And strategies, examples, will develop and support a new comprehensive employee wellness program. That's just an example. All right, we can move on to the next. Action plans. As you move through your plan, and this is a part where I will be behind the scenes assisting, but it will also take work from your staff, because as you create the strategic plan, there needs to be a goal owner for each, I will call it a pillar or category. For example, if we talk about special education, I'm assuming your special education director would be responsible for that pillar, or finance, or whatever, or facilities. But the reason I say that it's important, because lots of times you look at strategic plans and you will go look at goals, objectives, action plans, and timelines and things like that. And over at the side, it'll say who's responsible. It'll say staff. I'm going to say this: if it says staff and nobody owns it, nobody's going to own it, and it will not get done. So when we do this, when we work through the strategic plans, there has to be a goal owner per component. So we'll talk about that, but it's important that, number one, the biggest piece of this is monitoring of the plan after you do this work. This is hard work. This potentially could take 5 to 6 weeks or a little bit longer. It's according to how fast you want to go and how long your meetings you want them to be. But it's normally a 5 to 6 week process. Rockcastle took forever. I worked with their district 6 to 8 months probably on strategic planning. Garrett County, 5 weeks. And Danville Independent, I was there 6 weeks. So I've worked with a lot of districts, but we'll tailor this based upon, I'm getting ready to start Berea Independent August 22nd. But we will tailor this best to what your needs are. But again, critical pieces, monitoring of the plan has to be monitored, and you got to have goal owners, and you got to have checkpoints where you're checking on things. That's the most important part of the work. So anyway, if you want to move to the next slide, that's a summary of what I just went really quickly, because again, I want to be respectful of your time, and I know you asked me that, and I told you I would. So I want to be respectful. I could have talked an hour and 15 minutes about this, but I want to go move forward and get it done, because again, I respect your time and the agenda. But look at the last slide. The who is, sorry, well, not that one, but the one before that. Go back one more. The who is your vision, mission, beliefs, and then the what, internal analysis, and then your objectives, the what, strategies, the how, and then your action plan. So then you go on to the next slide. And I firmly believe this, and I will read it. The foundation of any successful strategic plan is commitment to accomplish the goals of the plan from those responsible for its implementation. That's what I was just talking about, the monitoring piece and holding people accountable. But again, it's for the benefit of improvement of your district. Ultimately, it's going to help every child in your district. I'm all about every single kid getting support, getting help. So, this is a big step, and I love this work. And I am not a researcher, I'll tell you that. I know this work because our district, we went through and really worked the strategic plan about 3 times while I was superintendent, again, because the district was ever changing and we had to make changes in order to meet the needs of our kids. So sources, this is not all mine. This is work from folks I've worked with. Bill Cook, Strategic Planning for American Schools, that's the model. I have done a lot of work with Studer Group when I was superintendent, and then APQC, a lot of work with them in our district, and then KYCP with Baldridge work and some of that. So, but anyway, that's really quick and fast. And does anybody have any questions at all about the process?
Thank you. I took lots of notes.
Well, I went really fast.
I loved it.
I just want to get you all through it again. I appreciate you all, considering this, and you all will actually need to vote to move forward with strategic plan. I know this is a working session, but and then once you decide if you want to, again, no cost, and I promise you, I will give you everything I've got in this process. I will work extremely hard behind the scenes, and I will come prepared every single time. So, because I'm in this for, for you all to make the best things happen in your school district, 100%. So, and if I don't know something, I'll find out. If y'all ask me something I don't know, I'm not gonna say, yeah, I don't do that. I will find the answer and come back with the answer for you. But, anyway, that's all I got. So.
I think there's 3 or 4 here in the audience that participated in the last one we did, which was under
Okay.
Karen Hatter.
Okay. And this is a fun process, and I don't come in and it's not stiff and rigid. I'm who I am. And I'm just Jimmy. That's what Grant knows me as. And so it's really formal, but I'm also very informal. I want it to be fun. I want it to be relaxed. And I want people to enjoy, the process, and it not be some stiff, rigid thing like, oh, we got to do strategic planning tonight. I don't want that. And then, but Bruce has got my contact information, and if y'all have any questions following this, he can reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to come back or do anything y'all need. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Evans.
Well, and again, it's Jim or Jimmy, whatever you want. I don't have to be called doctor and all. So that's just a formality. But,
Lots of good information.
well, it's good work, and again, my heart's in it, so I promise you that. So that's for sure. So thank you all. I know I took a little longer, but good meeting every one of you. And if I didn't get to meet you, I didn't get to talk to you, but hopefully I will. So thank you for the help.
I tried to keep up with that.
Holler if you need something, and I'll get out of here and let y'all get on with your business, talk about tax rates.
Talking to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thanks, sir.
Grant, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye, you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue with item 3D, demolition process for Kings Mountain property. Bruce?
So Brad and I met with Doug Gooch and Patrick Cook from Sherman Carter Barnhart on July the 18th. So we're bringing this to the board. Now at next week's meeting, Patrick will be here, so he can answer some specific questions that you may have as well. I'm going to kind of go through some of the notes that he gave us from when we met with him. If you vote next week to proceed with this, he's looking possibly that we could have this ready to be bid by the end of this month. There is some underground piping that is up there, of course, and we asked him to, after discussing with him and Doug, if you decide to do this, to actually do that as an alternate in pricing. So, and he can talk more about that next week on the pros and cons of that. We also discussed, there's a lot of contents up there. I know we've had some folks that have asked for certain things. So if you want us to, we can bring a list next week and you can declare if that stuff's surplus. They really cautioned us. We don't want that to hold up our process. They talk like, if you decide to do this, this could be achieved maybe, and Brad, you correct, by October, it could be completed if you chose to do that. We talked about the bleachers, maybe salvaging some of that wood, some of the other wood within the area there. There's been some discussion about the lockers. Of course, those are big, huge sections. The basketball goals, Saturday, they would take those down and bring to us. Some of the other items were flags, bills, shelving, curtains, rugs, tables, and pictures. That's the list that I have. So if you want me to, I can bring that next week and along with this, and you can declare all of that surplus. And we would want the folks to get that within a certain time, working with Brad, so that, you know, the site is clear, ready to start the demolishing process if that's the route you choose to go. Are there any questions, or Brad, you have anything you want to add to what I said?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward. He felt good about the bid market right now. Of course, you never know on that, but from the trends they're seeing, they expect we get some competitive bidding on that, be able to get it done here in the fall. So, to echo what Bruce said, you know, if you all do choose surplus items, we'd probably just set up one day with a window of time, and people would have to come in, or we wouldn't get into meet me Monday at 6, you know, we'd set a time and you'd have to come in or just lose your opportunity for that.
Because we don't want that to slow our process
No,
down.
absolutely
That would be
not.
great to do it that way. Like you said, that would not slow us down. Getting it completed by the end of October sounds good, really wonderful. Any other questions?
I just think it, right now, we need to move quickly on it because I think it's a liability waiting to happen.
The longer it stands.
And whatever is not taken on that day, if the day is set aside, whatever's left goes with the building.
With the demolition of the
Absolutely.
building.
Demolition, that's right.
Okay, we'll continue then with 3E, MOA with BCTC for dual credit. Bruce.
Okay, you have there in your packet the MOA with the Bluegrass Community and Technical College. We met, several of us directors, along with several of the staff with BCTC. We're looking to expand the program this year, offering more dual credit options for our students. So be asking the board to approve this MOA. So the students can actually get started this month when they start school.
Great.
Questions, comments? Okay, we'll continue with Bruce with 3F, changed October working meeting date.
Okay, we noticed that when the board approved the meeting dates back January, that we scheduled a meeting during fall break. So if it's the board's wishes, we will change that October 10th to October the 3rd. That would be the working meeting. Now, that will, right?
Yes.
That will, us changing it, that makes it a special meeting, correct? So we can,
Reschedule regular meeting as a special meeting.
so nothing can be added to that agenda.
So we will meet the 3rd.
October the
Break will
3rd.
be the 10th, and then we'll meet again on the 17th.
Yes.
Okay, let's go with 3G. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for all of that. 3G, consultant for behavior needs, Julie Ball.
I'm looking to possibly contract with a behavior consultant. She's worked with us last year some with our behavior department as far as collecting data for us on how to best serve students. Now that we have 3 behavior interventionists in the district, they are all new. She would be a mentor to those behavior interventionists as well as help set up some tiered programs for the behavior with the students. And this would be paid through IDEA funds.
IDA funds. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. I don't know if it's a her question or if it's a Leanne question. Where do I see the IDEA funds at?
Where do you see them?
Yeah. The budget, where's their budget at? Where do I see that at?
It's contained in Munis. I mean, I can get you a copy of the budget if that's what you're asking.
Did we ever see it?
Do you see specifically the IDEA budget? Probably not. But there are we probably have 50 grants of varying sizes that would all have budgets every single year. I don't typically give you reports in that detail because it would be extremely overwhelming. But I can certainly provide you with a copy of it.
She just comes up here and gonna use her funds, and when she runs out of funds and somebody says, well, the board voted to spend those funds.
And I'm assuming Leanne is
Well,
monitoring.
So I'm in all these conversations about things we can afford in developing a budget, and I feel comfortable with our IDEA funds that we can handle this.
And Bruce has to sign off on it, so I'm putting my trust in these
Yeah,
two.
we
When
trust
ask-
Leanne and Julie to do the job, because we cannot look at every penny, can we, Leanne?
You can try, certainly.
Good,
We're
but it
talking
would
about
take a
millions
while.
of dollars.
But yes, we
But-
trust our directors to do their
I
job.
can get you a copy of it, Gloria, if you'd like.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay, Julie, go on with 3H. Contract to provide speech and physical therapies.
We currently have an opening for a physical therapist that's been open since June and we've not had a single applicant. With the speech therapist, we're lacking one speech therapist, and that's been open since mid-July with no applicants. So I'm looking to contract with hands-on therapy to provide those services for our students, starting in the fall.
I'll tell you, my wife is a speech pathologist, and when she went on maternity leave the last time, they could not find anyone to substitute for her. And so they contracted the same group, and
Oh,
she
okay.
really liked them.
Great.
Yeah, she really liked
I've
them.
heard good things about it.
And of course, I work in Danville, and unless they've hired someone in the last few days, we have the same situation. We need a speech path and cannot find
Yeah, it's hard to find.
Got that?
Yes,
We have to have them.
absolutely.
Where are they from? Do you know?
I believe Danville.
Danville?
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Close by. Okay. Okay, anything for Julie? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, we'll continue with 3I, fruit and vegetable grant. Kathy H.
We're just asking the board to approve this program that we provide for our students. They get a fresh fruit or a fresh vegetable every afternoon at 2 o'clock. Comes to a total of $134,000.
Kathy, I noticed each school gets a certain amount. Is that based on enrollment or
It's based on our own.
enrollment? Okay.
We've done this program this year, right?
We've done it.
Continuation for a long
Yes.
time.
A long time. It's a good program.
Questions, comments? Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, Leanne Smith, 3J, tax rates.
I got a little tickle in my throat, and maybe talking for a little while, so I brought a cup of water up here. Don't be trying to get into it. All right, so tax rates is what we'll start with tonight, which is obviously everybody's favorite topic, and it's my favorite one to talk about too and explain. I know tax rates can be confusing, they're complex, so I'll just take my time and we'll go through this, and if you have questions, I'll do my best to address. So I'll just go over the handout that I gave you guys. I'll just start at the top and then we'll just follow down through there. So just to review, last year's tax rate for real estate was 52.3 and the rate for personal property was 54.5. And as you all know, each year KDE sends us several options. There are a couple things that have to happen that trigger them calculating that rate, and then they get it to us about this time every year. I got those rates on Tuesday night, so I've been really looking at them and studying, and ever since then. The first rate that we always look at is called the compensating rate, and that's the rate that if we applied it to the current year's assessment, we'd get pretty much the same amount of revenue we got last year. So the compensating rate gives us about the same amount we got last year. The compensating rate for real estate would be 50.1. The compensating rate for personal property is 54.5. Then, of course, we always talk about the 4% revenue increase rate, and that rate for real estate would be 52.1. And the rate for personal property is 54.5, whether you look at the compensating rate or the 4% revenue increase. So those are the two main options that we look at. And if we go with either the compensating or the 4% increase, we have until September 13th to set those rates. You have 45 days from the date that the assessment is certified. And so we've got plenty of time to act on those. Now, I am presenting another option this year, something for the board to take a look at. We can also look at setting our real property rate to 52.2. That is actually a decrease if you compare it to the rate from last year. Last year was at 52.3. we could set it at 52.2 and set the tangible rate at 54.6. And so what we're looking at there is setting the rates just a touch above the 4% rate that KDE gave us. By going that route, it stretches out the time period to get the rates set, because the rates that I'm proposing are over the 4% rate, and we would have to follow guidelines. You have to advertise for a couple of weeks. You have to have a public hearing, special called meeting. There's a timeline that you have to follow pretty close. If we pursued that option, it would be around October 7th. That would be the very earliest that we could be sure that those rates would be successfully levied. Something that's pretty awesome about this third proposal, if we decided to go with it, which, like I said, it's a decrease in the real property rate from last year, we would see the benefit of a nickel tax without actually assessing a nickel tax to taxpayers. So let me make it clear. I am not proposing a nickel tax. If I was asking you all to look at a nickel tax, the rates would be 58.2 for real property, and it would be 60.6 for personal property. So we are not looking at a nickel tax. I'm proposing rates of 52.2 and 54.6. Now, why, you say, am I proposing these rates, and what's the point of this? Well, I do want to explain how a nickel tax works, and while we're not taking a nickel tax, we're still kind of going in that same pathway to maximize our bonding capacity. Right now, our bonding capacity is $11 million. As you know, our facility plan says $100 million. Who knows, it could actually be $200 million. We, to say it real plain and simple, don't have enough bonding capacity, can't borrow enough money to do anything, frankly. And so I'm looking at an opportunity for us to increase that bonding capacity. So how the nickel tax works is, we would, if we're not doing this, but if we were, we would be charging a higher tax rate to taxpayers. That brings in a bucket of money. Then the state says, oh, look at Lincoln County, they've got some skin in the game. We're going to provide an equalization, like a match to that. So that's how a nickel tax works. We collect an additional amount of money. The state says, go Lincoln County, we're going to give you more money. And we put that in our building fund, and you use that money to make your debt payments, and that increases how much money that you can borrow. We are not looking to do that. We are actually looking to keep the rates low, but the district is actually going to step in and pay the local portion. So rather than us looking at the taxpayers to pay in that amount, we're going to say, hey, look, state, we have skin in the game. It is not provided by our taxpayers. We are using money we already have in the general fund to pay that. And so obviously that is going to hit our general fund. But when I tell you that we can go from $11 million to $45 million in bonding capacity, I think you can see why it might be a good time in order for us to take a hit of our general fund. It will impact us for probably 2 to 4 years. And at that time, our revenues will offset the money that the general fund's paying, and we'll be back to where we are right now. Now, there are several things that might make us more willing to look at the general fund fronting this money. Number one is our healthy contingency. So Dr. Evans was talking about your contingency, is it healthy? Is it good? Ours is very healthy. It grew substantially during COVID. So we have a large general fund right now. We have several other things coming into play. We have some debt payments that we make out of our general fund that will be paying off within the next couple of years. So those are almost at the end. So we know we're looking at more money in our general fund free that we could pay towards something like this. So if you want to flip the page, and as I said, $11 million that we could borrow to put into our facilities would increase to almost $45 million. And you can only imagine the difference that would make in our facilities, the difference that would make in our districts, the pride that we have in our school buildings. I've showed the rates down below. I've got the
last year's rates there in that top row. So we'll just look at the real property tax rate. Last year, the rate was 52.3. The compensating rate that I received from KDE is 50.1. The 4% increase is 52.1. And what I'm proposing is just the minimum amount that puts us over that 52.1. It takes us to 52.2. Again, if we were taking a nickel tax or looking at a nickel tax, which we are not, that rate would be 58.2, and we are not doing that. If you look at the personal property tax rates, last year we were at 54.5. Both the compensating and the 4% increase are 54.5. We've got to bump that up just a very minimal amount, 54.6, in order for this to all work together. And so that is my proposal, option 3. I think that it would be a great investment of our general fund dollars. I'll be honest, I don't really know any other way that we are going to be able to build up our facilities. We do not have that capability right now. And I just think this could be a good option. If you'll look down, I know people always like to see what are other people's tax rates, and we're going to be looking at the real property tax rates because that's what most people are interested in. Those are the taxes that you pay on your house. Just a quick comparison of surrounding districts. Danville's tax rate is 87.7. Somerset's is 78.5. Boyle, 65.3. Garrett, 64.4. Pulaski, 52.8. Now I have Lincoln 52.3. That was our rate last year, but I'm proposing that we just go to 52.2 for this current year. The only 2 districts around us that are below us would be Casey at 48.7 and Rockcastle, which is 43.8. On a local and a statewide scale, our tax rates are not high. Do you have questions regarding that before I move on? If you think that you might be interested in pursuing the third option that I presented, I will start the process, which doesn't obligate us to anything, but we do have to advertise in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks. So that would be next Thursday and the following Thursday in the IJ. We would have a special called meeting 7 to 10 days after that second advertisement. And at that time, when we have that public hearing, you all would have the option to set the rates at that time. And then we would just still have to follow that timeline out to see that, we can be assured that those rates will be able to be successfully levied. That is my proposal, so.
Well, we desperately need that additional bonding funds because, our high school alone needs a complete renovation.
Right.
Y'all need, everybody in here has been at that school, I'm sure. You know what it's like. And we're overrun at Houstonville. And some of our other schools are desperately, our facilities are not anything to be proud about.
Right.
I think it's an opportunity to start investing for our kiddos to have some of the same facilities that our neighboring schools, districts have. So,
and we're getting to the point where every county that touches us is building new schools.
Right.
And we don't really, the way I look at it, we don't have a whole lot of an option. We have to improve our facilities. That's not a negotiable. So I think we should at least start the process.
Right.
Open borders is killing us.
Yeah.
It's killing a lot of people. It's not just us, but
Well, let's say hurting us. Hurting us is a better word
It
than
is.
killing us.
It's been negative for sure.
So what do you need from us?
I don't really need anything formally tonight, but if it is okay with you all, I'm going to start the process just so that if we decide to go that route, that we have our timeline in place. So I will place an advertisement in the paper. It will be in there the next 2 weeks, and we will set a date for the special call meeting and a public hearing. So.
Will the
Sounds
timeline
good.
run to have the meeting at the next meeting, or we have to have?
No,
We've done that in the past.
No,
No,
we would be looking, we have to meet 7 to 10 days after the second advertisement. The earliest meeting date would be August the 22nd. And so I would
We have to
prefer,
have the earliest.
I would prefer to do that as early as we possibly can. So if we could meet on August the 22nd, I would like to do that.
And it has to be in our paper. We thought maybe we could use.
Yeah.
Sample,
the-
it's gotta be in
but
the
it has to
IJ.
be.
It has to be the largest circulated newspaper in our county, so we just have the weekly and not until next Thursday, but, you know, we'll do what we can and see how it goes. Again, this is not a nickel tax. This is basically a nickel tax where the district picks up the additional nickel, not the public. The tax rate for your real property on your home, the rate will decrease if we go with this option that I'm proposing.
You said we would pay pay who?
What's that?
You said we would pay who?
We're using our funds.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the general fund.
Who are we
Right.
giving our general funds to?
We're just setting it aside. We're giving our general
Oh, okay.
funds to
You're
ourselves.
not writing a check to
No, no, no.
anybody. You're just-
No.
Our general funds just goes into our building fund. It's required, like, we have to set aside general fund dollars in the building fund, and that pulls the equalization in from the state. So it's just setting aside money that we already have.
And these funds can only be used for facilities. Can only be used for facilities.
Right.
Not salaries, only
No,
facilities.
Well-
no salaries, facilities.
And the money that we're talking about is already money that's ours. But by setting it aside to the building fund, it says we're using that for our facilities. And the equalization we get from the state would go in that same place. So,
And you say for 2 to 4 years, it might look a little tight, but after that.
yes,
it's gonna be a
so
lot better.
that's exactly right. We will have to kind of front load paying that portion. But I've looked at it and looked at some factors that we have in place. And like I said, it's great timing for us because our contingency's in good shape. That we may have to use some of that to cover that, but when I think about the difference that this could make for us, I feel optimistic that this could be a really good thing.
And I want to say how much I appreciate this because when I went to the conference and talked to some of the folks in the districts around us, I was really surprised to see that some of them had 2 and 3 nickels
Oh,
to
absolutely.
fund all these projects. And so I think you're looking at it in a different way, and I appreciate that.
We are in the minority with the nickels, honestly, and it just leaves us kind of with no option.
Yeah, because most of those, districts that she gave you the rate, they have multiple nickels, but again, this is not.
Right.
nickel.
This is not
It's
a traditional
different
nickel.
approach.
But I think from the public view, there should be a level of appreciation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're not passing this on to you.
Right.
We're using what we've got. We will make the cuts or do what we need to do to make it work. So
Well,
I hope we see public buy-in because of that.
Every time anybody mentions the nickel tax, everybody assumes they don't really understand what the nickel tax is.
Yeah, it's a
And so
difficult,
Yes,
it's a difficult
concept.
conversation.
Yes. So I think if we ever get to that point, maybe that's something to educate the public about.
All right, I'll begin the process on that, and there will be an advertisement. You'll see that in the paper next Thursday and then the week after, and we will go from there. On that third page of the handout I gave you, it does list the motor vehicle tax. That rate is the same every single year. It is 54.2, and it will remain that way. Just FYI, last year we received about $1.2 million from motor vehicle tax. So I'll probably next Thursday at our regular meeting, just go ahead and have you all approve that rate. We can't do anything with the others that I've talked about, but we can do the motor vehicle tax. And the utility tax, that rate is at 3%, and it will remain that way. Again, last school year, we brought in about $1.2 million with the utilities tax, and those numbers just stay the same. So I'll have you approve motor vehicle tax and utility tax next week just to get those out of the way, and then we'll follow the timeline with the rest of those items. Thank you all. I know there's a lot to think about, but if you have questions or if you have people asking you questions, just let me know. Do my best to get you an answer, okay?
Thank you for the handout.
Yes.
Yes.
So easy
Thank
to
you for all the hard
understand.
work.
Yeah.
Well, and I apologize that those weren't on the e-meeting, but I have been changing that all through the day, working on a proposal and to figure out how it looks and all that. So I wasn't withholding it. It just was like down to the minute where I got the rates, you know.
You only received it Tuesday night, right?
Tuesday night. Hey, as soon as I got them, I was like, oh goodness, looking at the rates. I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff.
I know,
So,
I talked with you on Tuesday morning.
and I didn't have them. As soon as they popped up, I said,
But
yes.
thank you for this great handout, and I think option 3 is excellent.
Okay, all right, sounds
Well
good.
done.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue, Leanne, with 3K, change to per diem policies. And this is the first reading of board policy 03.125, certified expense reimbursement, and 03.225, classified expense reimbursement.
Yeah, our current daily per diem rate for meals is $30. So it doesn't matter where you go for like a conference or a training or what you actually spend, you receive $30 for that. And we've come to see, obviously, that $30 is not going to likely cover your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner if you are, you know, having to go to Louisville for a meeting for a couple of days. And I took a look at districts surrounding us, and we are the smallest per diem amount. We don't want to put our employees out by making them pay, you know, a lot out of pocket if they're going for trainings or conferences or meetings. And so we're just going to look at adjusting that. If you'll look at the comparison I sent you, districts do it all different ways. Some districts look at the time you travel during the day, and if you travel during the time period for breakfast, you get reimbursed that amount. If you're traveling during the time period for lunch, you would get that amount. So you kind of check mark what time of the day you were gone, and then they have a breakdown per each meal, how much you would get reimbursed. There were a couple districts that do it that way. Bull County does it that way. Rockcastle, and then actually the state, we looked at theirs, they actually do it that way. Then there are other districts that provide just a whole day amount. So if you're going to be gone overnight on a conference, then you're going to get a set amount of $40, or there was Garrett's at $36, Pulaski's at $34.50, Rockcastle is at, oh, that was one of the ones I mentioned earlier. So there are a lot of different ways to look at it. You can reimburse by meal, which is a little bit more record keeping and, you know, to keep up with, or you can reimburse by the day. I'll kind of leave that up to how you guys want to look at it, but I do think that we need to up the amount from $30 for a day to an amount that you all think is more suitable. So I'm kind of open for you all to make suggestions on what you think might be best.
What's the state rate?
So the state rates, they have two rates. They have a rate if you're traveling just, I guess, in a regular area, and then they have higher rates if you're traveling in a high rate area. But I did pull the high rate areas, and there are no locations in Kentucky that qualify as a high rate area. I printed out the list. So it's not likely that we would have too many employees traveling outside of Kentucky. So it's likely that we wouldn't qualify for that high rate if we were looking at the state sliding scale. The state, if you look at per meal, it adds up to $50 for a whole day. They reimburse $12 for breakfast, $15 for lunch, or $23 for dinner. So, like I said, there's several different ways we could pursue it. If somebody wants to, you know, offer a suggestion, but I do think 30 is too low. I also think record keeping is easier if we look at just a daily amount, but, you know, we could be paying out a full day amount for somebody who's just traveling home from a conference on the last day and, you know, leaves Louisville in the morning and they're back here by lunchtime. And so whatever you all think. At this time, we also do not require receipts for reimbursement. Our policy states that. That's probably, again, an easier record keeping thing. But if we wanted to, you know, drill down on that, we can require receipts. It just kind of depends on what you guys think. So anybody want to offer any feedback?
I think probably just knowing the time would be, I don't think we need to make your job all that more difficult. I think if we know the time that the person has gone, you know.
So are you saying just give like a daily rate? Okay.
I mean, that's just my thought, you know, I don't know.
That's how we currently do it. So that is how our employees are used to it. So if we want to keep a daily rate And does anybody want to throw out a daily rate that you think would be reasonable?
I think it ought to be the same as the state. I think $50.
50?
Going to conferences, most of our conferences are Lexington and Louisville.
Uh-huh.
And I know the last time we went as a board to Louisville,
Mhm.
one meal at the hotel was a hamburger and French fries, and it was in my drink, and it was almost $40. So nobody's gonna get rich on this $50 a day.
The hamburger was 30.
Yeah, the hamburger was 30, and it wasn't even that good.
dessert.
So if our first reading will look like,
So our first reading looks like it is, but your second reading, if you're all in agreement,
Yeah.
I'll have a new one uploaded and it will say a daily, instead of the breakdown that's on there
okay,
now,
it's fine.
it'll say a daily rate of $50.
Mhm.
And that will be our second, and that's what the first reading. And
And
that's,
and that puts us much more in line with other districts around us, rather than where we are. So, we'll put 50 in there and we'll have the second reading on that next week. Okay,
Thank you, Leanne.
I got one more thing.
Okay, one,
But I haven't needed my water at all.
that's right, drink your water.
Okay, I'll take a break.
Okay, 3L, pest control bid modification.
If you all remember back, we received only one bid for pest control for the 24-25 school year, and that was Guardian Exterminating. They realized after the fact that they actually underbid. They put an amount in, it said McGuffey and the main middle school building, but they didn't realize it was for both of those buildings. And so they listed for the middle school, $90, and they thought it was just one of the buildings and didn't realize the other one wasn't listed separately on down through there. I look back to last year's bid, 23-24, and it was $150. So obviously they weren't just gonna voluntarily drop the bid down for the whole middle school from 150 down to 90. They have contacted to ask if they can increase that to 170 a month, which is, they went up maybe $10 at some schools and $20 depending on the size of the buildings. They're just asking if they could correct that error, if the board would approve modifying that bid. And I talked to Grant, and I think he said, especially where it was the only bid we received, that we would be okay to approve that. And it is an obvious error on their part, especially when you compare what we were paying last year to this year. So I would recommend that we make that amendment to the bid amount.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Ms. Leanne.
All right, thank you all.
Much appreciative. Okay, we'll continue with 3M, old fencing on the baseball field. Brad Smith.
I feel a lot of pressure after all that talk. There's been a lot of good speakers tonight. We're looking at making some improvements to some of the facilities out there at the high school. One that we looked at doing last year, but we didn't get it done before the season came about, is removing that old wooden fence that's dilapidated, falling down out there. Several pieces of it probably are not even usable anymore. Every good storm we have pretty much blows a big chunk of it down. We've kind of rigged it up to get by to this point. We're going to go back with chain link and just more durable. It's going to last several years. We're not going to have to worry about it. I'm just asking the board to surplus that lumber. If there are some good pieces of it, we could take a bid for a lump sum amount. We can give it away. We can throw, we're probably going to throw a big portion away. Whatever you all choose to do with that part is fine with me. I just need to surplus it so we can start removing it and getting rid of it. I actually have the baseball booster club is going to help me do that. So they're going to help take the wooden part down, which would be a big help to us. They're putting some skin into it too. So that's all we're looking to do with the wooden part.
Well, that fence looks terrible, so.
Oh, I get pictures every time windstorm comes and something.
You've seen it several times.
Several times.
And that's what I'm saying. I told Bruce I put in there, take a bid, but guys, I don't even know if it's worth that. I think we just let, if somebody wants a piece of it when we get it down.
We just need to surplus it in the.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking you guys to do.
Would the tech center want any of it, the wood shop?
I can talk to Jeremy Todd and see they might want
That's a
some.
good
I've even talked to our maintenance crew, if we can repurpose some of the planks somewhere, we're gonna do that too. We got a few little ideas that we're working on, so we'll definitely do some of that. So excited to get it done. It is an eyesore. You're right, Tyler. It's
Especially if you're standing on the bleachers of the football field.
yeah, well, I was hoping we could get it done before the Death Valley Bowl, which is one of our biggest events, but we probably won't have it all the way done by then. The fencing contractor is probably gonna have it done by the end of the month though, so the new one up. We'll probably have it down by then.
And out of the way, not just laying out.
Well, we're gonna put it in neat stacks, that way we're
Okay.
gonna stack it with
Cause I'll get pictures of that too.
I know, but we'll make it look neat. If we're not able to get it out there before then, it'll look neat. I can assure you of that, so.
Won't be moving no topsoil.
No.
Okay, because I got complaints about that too.
Which?
When the football field was fixed, we should have been off the topsoil.
Oh. Yeah, everything else is going well down there, and Ed had mentioned earlier, we're already starting to do some little things to some of those facilities. I'm gonna be I've got someone gonna be looking at the grade of the softball field, try to fix that drainage. It's been a recurring issue for years, but we are looking into some of that too. Yeah, both places. That's kind of the major issue for both of those complexes right now. I think Coach Petrie would agree with that. So he and I are talking about that and trying to work some of that stuff out that we're able to do now while it's good weather still and before their season starts. So
when did you say
That sounds wonderful.
The boosters are gonna help me with that. We're probably soon as, if I know you guys are in agreement with it, we'll probably start working on it, go at least get it down, and then once y'all surplus it, we'll start getting rid of it. But then the hope is, and I actually just talked to the fence contractor today, the new fence should be up by the end of August. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you all.
Sounds wonderful. Okay, we'll continue with item 3N, data and information security. Tracy Crippen.
According to policy 0161 and our KRSs for the state, we have to present every year for you to review without a lot of detail because we can't release anything that people might want to know about our security of our computers. But that we have reviewed the data security and breach notification best practice guide, and we are implementing best practices to meet the needs of our students and our staff. But I do want to let you know a couple things that we have on our radar to help improve this is we are going to contract with CIRSA. It's a free service, but they will evaluate our security, our digital security, to make sure there's nothing that we can do to improve our.
Something blew by the window just a minute ago, but I thought ghost.
To make sure there's nothing we can improve in our security. So they're going to evaluate our security system for all of our digital files. And we're also, through the state, are going to start a program called Q's. It is going to put most all of our systems together into one, so that you have to sign into one system to grant access to Google, email, Infinite Campus, Munis. All of that will be connected through the system. And we're just starting. I went to a meeting last week about it.
What was the name of it?
Q's, CUES. Okay. So that's a new thing that we'll be implementing over the next year. Any questions?
Questions, anyone? Thank you, Tracy. Okay, we'll go on with 3O MOA with Campbellsville University. Diana? No, it's Jeannie. I just saw your long legs. I thought it was Diana. Jeannie Cooper.
I'm just asking that the board approve an MOA with Campbellsville University to allow student teachers for that school year.
Have we done them before? That's what I thought. Okay.
And we've got a student teacher waiting.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Comments?
Yeah, are we gonna pay them?
The student teacher, it's different. It works differently, so they can sub so many days in that classroom.
That counts.
And they can be paid for those. If we couldn't find a certified qualified teacher, then we could use them as a long-term sub if the university allows it. However, this person is probably going to do the traditional student teaching. We have had some in the past that have been subs because we couldn't find qualified certified teachers, and we've also paid them a few, I can't remember if it's up to 10 days to sub in that classroom. But this one's gonna be traditional.
I had somebody, and I watched it, the legislator said that we could pay them, but they didn't give us no money to pay them. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Jeannie. Okay, pre-P, revised Family Resource Center job description, Anthony Beer.
In the past, all of our Family Resource Center coordinator jobs have not had bachelor's degree requirements. However, the updated state listings in Talent Ed require a bachelor's degree. I'm just asking that we remove the bachelor's degree requirement and use the wording that's listed on the request.
A good move, I think. Any
We
comments,
just keep
questions?
everything consistent, you know.
Right. Okay,
Thank
thank you, Anthony. Okay, we'll move to action items. 4A, Julie Ball, instructional assistant for special education students.
When we need instructional assistance for the special education students, it's a lengthy process. We have to get board approval, posting of the position, and hiring, which includes background checks, everything. We're just looking for an open position for instructional assistants throughout the year, so when students move in or qualify with an IEP, individualized education plan, then we are able to go ahead and hire any instructional assistants that the students may require. And again, with IDEA
If
funds.
someone leaves, then you can go and hire someone in that position.
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to authorize the superintendent to post and fill additional instructional assistant positions as necessary to fulfill needs established by students' individual education plans developed through the ARC meeting process?
I'll make a motion.
Tyler?
Second.
Jen? Vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And yes for me. Thank you,
Thank you for
Julie.
your funds.
And we'll go on with
IDEA funds.
We'll go on 4B. I'm trying to get us out of here.
Yes, I understand.
Julie, you want to go on with that?
Nobody's phones ain't went off at us now. Everybody's, if there were storms, our phones would be going off.
We have a population in the district that are not only students with special needs, but also they are English as a second language learners. And we're looking to have an assistant position for someone to work with the students who are special needs and English as a second language with IDEA funds.
How many?
I don't have that exact number. Tish Burns has been helping me with this, and she came up with the number, but I didn't know it. I'm sorry.
For EL,
Yes.
we probably monitor close to 60 something, and she provides direct services for over 40, like 45-ish. In the past few years, we've had several come in that speak no English at all.
Several just last school year.
Yeah.
I have had them in class. I had a little boy from Honduras that they brought him in. He was boo-hooing, and because he was terrified, and he spoke no English. I've had multiple of those.
I had kindergartner on my bus that spoke no English. And my other question was possibly work some with the parents?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But this would be focused really on special ed children, except.
Yes, this would be focused on students who also have the special education needs.
Is one enough?
At this time, when I worked with Tish on this, yes, she felt like one would be sufficient. However, moving forward, it may not be, right?
It's always a challenge because when they come in and they don't speak English, it's hard to determine whether they can get special education services.
Exactly.
And it's hard to know where they fall in their own language.
Right.
How,
And how the two impact each other.
Okay, is there a motion to create a bilingual instructional assistant 2 position and add it to the salary schedule? Next motion. Christine, Jen, vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Julie. Okay, here's Miss Diana Hart.
I'm here now, yes.
4C, you want to talk to us about the apprenticeship Building America 2 grant?
Yes, so in a nutshell, I'm going to try to do this rather quickly, but I'll answer questions if you have them. But this pairs perfectly with some of our initiatives that we've brought on this year at the high school, and then especially it pairs perfectly with our JAG program. So this is the National Performance for Education. Will partner with us to develop a registered apprenticeship program, which is called a RAP program, to assist with the following goals: create new apprenticeships and help modernize the state apprenticeship system, expand RAP opportunities for youth, ensure equitable RAP pathways through quality pre-apprenticeships leading to RAP enrollment and equity partnerships, and include CTE, integrated education and training, post-secondary courses. And when I talk about post-secondary courses, that's including our CTE classes, but also our dual credit classes. So basically, this is funding to ensure we have all that we need to make these kids successful in these pathways. It focuses on high needs kids age 16 to 24, actually. So both JAG and this grant would follow those kiddos to ensure that they're successful even beyond our classrooms, that they're in a job field. The really cool thing about this, it's a 4-year grant. There are 4 of us districts, so we're one of 4 that's included in this grant. And so there's $4 million that will be spread between us. Our exact amount, I would guess, is going to be around $1 million, but it's with the Department of Labor, so we don't know that exact amount yet. But it would fund I want to make sure I get this title right, a career support specialist. So that person would be working with community partners to make sure their kids have apprenticeships and making sure that's in their job field and kind of guiding them through that process. They would also have a career camp. They're required to have a career camp every summer. And again, this would hit when they turn age 16. It will also help all of our students because it's going to make sure that our classrooms have all the supplies and things that they need to be successful. So it will fund that job. And then again, I won't get into all the details, but let's say that a student decides that they're really interested in becoming an engineer, and we find a place that will let them come in as an apprentice for engineering, but they don't have the extra funds to pay that student. They could be our employee, and this grant would pay them an hourly wage, and they're covered under our insurance. So that way they're, I feel like businesses will be more likely to allow students in. It would also, I think you guys talked about a little bit, well, maybe not students, but students in our district, if they were 16 or older and they want to go into education and they're partnering with us to get in some of our classrooms and practice, we could pay them a minimum wage to do that. So it just hopefully will attract kids to complete apprenticeships. And that's where you really learn and build relationships for your future to actually get a job in that field. So I'm hoping that will entice kids to get involved in that way.
Is this a certified position?
It is, yes.
Well, I do like what you said there about them working within the school, because I was talking to Kelsey about how we can't find speech paths, we can't find school sites, and so we do have to do more to try to convince some of our seniors to, come do these
Absolutely.
jobs.
And what I like about this role is there's so many things that I felt like I just didn't even know those positions were out there. You're kind of in your own little world. I knew I loved science. I knew I wanted to do something with science, but I didn't know all the different fields. And so this person would really help guide those kids. Okay, what do you like? What are you good at? Here's some opportunities. Let me find you a way so you can go shadow or do an apprenticeship and kind of learn about it and see if this is really a field you want to go into.
I love that age, to age 24.
Absolutely.
Follow up.
Follow up. Absolutely.
How long is the grant for?
4 years.
4 years.
Any other questions, comments?
There is one adjustment I do want to make, because this includes also approving the job description for that career support specialist. In talking, there are some districts that are already doing this, and in talking with those districts, I made it 190, but they suggested that you keep it at the 185 days. I would like to make that adjustment. I know I mentioned that they have to do a camp and things, but there will be times when they can adjust their schedule throughout the year so that they can save 10 days for June, because there's some trainings every June, there's some data entry, and then the camp would be 5 days. So that has worked successfully so that you maximize your grant funds and you're not spending it all on a salary. So I would like to make that one adjustment.
And that's the amount of days per
Yes,
school
ma'am.
year, is it?
Yes, ma'am. So rather than 190, after having some conversations today, I would like to change that.
Okay, is there a motion to accept and implement the Apprenticeship Building America 2 grant, the job description for career support specialist, and add it to the salary schedule?
I make the motion.
Gloria, second. Okay, Tyler, I
Tyler,
think.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you, Diana.
Next, too.
Okay, you got the next one
Yes,
too?
ma'am.
Oh, okay. 4D, migrant coordinator days.
So our migrant coordinator has consistently worked year after year, 240 days. So I want to make sure that that employee gets all the benefits of being part of their contract. So I'm just asking you to increase the number of days to our migrant coordinator to 240.
What is it now?
195.
Yes.
And she's worked 45 days in the summer program, so.
And going to consistently do
And
that.
been doing that consistently. We talked with Grant and want to make this 240.
You're right.
Right, yeah.
It really doesn't change her salary.
No.
It doesn't. It just gives her the other benefits.
Okay, I need a motion to approve increase of migrant coordinator to 240 days per school year. Jen,
Second.
Christine, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine, and I vote yes. Thank you,
you.
ma'am. Okay, we'll continue down to 4E, CKEC coaching, mentoring services. Bruce Smith.
I met with Mr. David Young, which is CEO of CKEC, a few days ago. And you have in your information there, the agreement that we came up with. I'm proposing that we enter into this agreement with the co-op, and it would provide 26 days for coaching and mentoring of some of our principals, which I will designate who those are. Also, something that they're looking to start offering is coming into districts to review their systems and processes. So we just kind of lump this all together. This will also, if the board so chooses, it will kind of tie in as we go through the strategic planning process as well. So it's just like all coming together. So
Is that 5 days for that?
5 days for
Review.
that, yes, and the 26 days, kind of
So kind of a total of 31 days.
31 days, and you can see the rate there. Could have been a little higher. Mr. Young worked with us, and so, again, just asking the board to enter into this agreement, and so we can get started with coaching and mentoring, and also start reviewing some of our processes. And that was kind of one of the things I told you when I presented the capstone, that we would start looking and reviewing our policies and procedures. There'll be more of that to come later. Okay.
And will special education help with the cost of this?
Yes, I'm glad it's in there. I've talked with Ms. Ball, and she's going to help cover the half of the cost, and in general, we'll be paying the other half.
Half of this 31,000.
Yes, she's gonna pay, and then the district will pay the other.
Any other questions, comments?
I'll just say that I've had several CKEC trainings, and they're always fantastic. I worked in a district once that there were some parameters, and they brought CKEC in, and it made a world of difference of getting those things lifted. So I think it's a great move, and I love that it works with our strategic planning.
Right. Yeah, I think they're an excellent service. So
They are.
I'm happy that you reached out to them.
And then they're gonna help with the special ed situation. Then they're gonna have help with the exceptional children also.
The reason there is because, our high school and middle school is identified as DSI right now. And that's due to the SWED population, so be working, looking at those.
I didn't wanna pay for it and then not get no services, but.
All kids will benefit them.
Okay, I need a motion to approve Central Kentucky Educational Cooperative Services for coaching, mentoring on principals, and review of district systems.
Make a motion.
Christine, Tyler, vote Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and yes for me.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to 4F, contract for interpreting services, Julie Ball.
Looking to enter a contract with Central Kentucky Interpreting Registry for interpreters, whether it be Spanish interpreters, ASL interpreters. We use both throughout the year in the district.
Okay, you said Spanish and
American Sign Language.
American Sign Language. Okay.
Those are the most often that you
Yes.
see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if, it's really hard to conduct an ARC meeting when you have a parent that doesn't speak English and you don't have an interpreter.
It's
So,
very difficult.
Can't hear, yes.
or needs sign languages, right?
Questions, comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve the contract with Central Kentucky Interpreter Registry to provide interpreting services for the 2024-2025 school year?
Make a motion.
Okay, Christine and Jen, vote Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you, Julie. Okay, are there any public comments? Okay. I need a motion to move to closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C for discussion of potential litigation.
Make a motion.
Christine, Tyler, vote. Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine? Yes. And I vote yes. Okay, we are now in open session, no action taken. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Take motion.
Okay, Jen and Christine. Rose, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And yes for me.